class to the start of Project 3 Web Applications. This video is going to cover pages 379 through 384. So just about 5 pages, but it's fairly detailed, and I just want to make sure I point out all the setup and what you need to do. This video is going to be Windows based, so if you're not a Windows user, you're going to go ahead and need to contact me so that I can go ahead and look into the other operating system that you're working with. So let's just look at the specs of this project to begin with. So web applications are always going to have their specs because of course we need to know the goals, the functionality, its appearance, and the user interface. So we're going to write a web app called Learning Log that allows users to log the topics they're interested in and to make journal entries as they learn about each topic. The Learning Log homepage should describe the site and invite users to either register or log in. Once they're logged in, a user should be able to create new topics, add new entries, and read and edit existing entries. So that's our specs for our project. So coming down a little further on that page, and I'm actually going to exit out of this PDF because this is the first edition of the book and I don't want to confuse any commands that we may be using. And we won't need our editor. We're going to be working straight from the command prompt or the terminal, whatever you're working with. Okay. So when it says under creating a virtual environment on page 380, the second paragraph talks about it's a virtual, or actually tells you how to set up the virtual environment. So a virtual environment is a place on your system where you install packages and isolate them from all other Python packages. Okay, separating one project's libraries from other projects is beneficial and will be necessary when we deploy Learning Log to a server in chapter 20. So this is chapter 18. Okay, so we're going to create a new directory for your project called Learning Log. Okay, and I'm going to have you create it through your File Explorer. You can go to your C drive, and I want you to go to Users and then go into your username. Okay, so in here you're going to go ahead and create this Learning Log folder. So Learning _log. Okay, and then when we're here, this is the path here, users amy.helgeson. Okay, you could also do the mkdir command and then do learning _log here as well instead of that File Explorer. But I'm going to go cd, that's change directory, and now I'm going to change it to Learning Log. Okay, so what you see on page 380 when it says learning _log $, that is this, okay, for us. Okay, so we kind of have to learn how to read what is in the book. And so now we're going to go ahead and do a Python command. So Python -m venv, and that's 2 L's. So for Learning Log, it's not an 11. Okay, so 2 L's for Learning Log and then env. Okay, when we do that, we'll see some output come back to us talking about what was actually, or not actually, not right here. It's just going to create it. If we go ahead and look at Learning Log now, we can see that we have the ll_env, and this is what is in there. So again, this is our virtual environment that we're working with. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to want to activate that virtual environment. Okay, so again, from the Learning Log folder, we are going to actually type what's in the note. And again, this video is Windows based. Okay, so we're actually going to type in ll_env /scripts /activate. Okay, now we see in front of our prompt here that we have the Learning Log environment. Okay, so now we know that we're in the virtual environment. Okay, if we want to deactivate, we can go ahead and enter deactivate at our prompt. You can, when you close this out, it's going to deactivate it by default too. Okay, so now we're in the Learning Log environment. Okay, and we're going to do the bottom of page 381. Okay, so pip install, and we're going to install Django. Okay, and then this is going to give us some feedback. Okay, it just tells me that I'm using an outdated version of pip. You can go ahead and update that. I sometimes kind of typically ignore that. Okay, creating a project in Django is page 382. Okay, so we have a couple pages left here. Okay, so what you're going to type there is the Django-admin start project learning _ log space period. Okay, so Django-admin start project learning _ log space period. Okay, and then underneath of that, it's going to explain what we're actually typing. It has been explaining things as we go through too, so make sure you're reading through the paragraph material so that you actually understand the code. So this one says for line 1, tells Django to set up a new project called learning _ log. Okay, the dot at the end of the command creates a new project with a directory structure that will make it easy to deploy the app to a server when we are finished developing it. It says don't forget this dot or you might run into some configuration issues when you deploy the app. If you forget the dot, delete the files and folders that were created except the ll_env and run the command again. Okay, so if you forget that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, sometimes I have to scroll down to keep your commands, your command prompt there working with you. Now it says ls, okay, on the next line for line 2. Okay, ls is something you use in a Linux environment. So Windows, where anytime you see the ls, you're going to type in dir. Okay, so we'll just do a dir. We see that in our learning log directory, we also have the learning log folder, and we also have our ll_environment folder. Okay. So the next line says, I think we go right to line 3. Okay, so we're going to skip over that next line because that's part of the first one. Oh no, that's the output. That third line there is the output, and this is the output that we're getting. Okay, the next one we're going to do dir learning _ log. So now we're going into that folder, learning _ log. Okay, and then it tells us that these are the files in here. Okay, so those files are explained about the middle of the page. The learning log directory contains 4 files. The most important are settings, URLs, and WSGI. The settings file controls how Django interacts with your system and manages your projects. The URLs file tells Django which pages to build in response to browser requests, and the WSGI file helps Django serve the files it creates. Okay, the file name is an acronym for Web Server Gateway Interface. Okay, so then we come to the bottom of page 382, and we're going to go ahead and create the database. So Django stores most of the information for a project in a database. So we'll go ahead and create that database next. So again, from our learning log environment, we're going to type in Python manage py migrate. Okay, and we get our feedback to us on that. Okay, anytime we modify a database, we're saying we're migrating the database. Issuing the command migrate for the first time tells Django to make sure the database matches the current state of the project. Okay, running the directory command shows that Django created another file called db SQLite3. So let's go ahead and do that. And now we see that we have db SQL, okay, Lite3, okay. Middle of page 383 is viewing the project. So Python manage.py run server. Okay, so starts a server called development server. When you request a page by entering a URL in a browser, the Django server responds to that request by building the appropriate page and sending it to the browser. So we're going to type in that command on the middle of the page in our learning log. Okay, and manage py, and now we're going to do the run server command. Okay, and sometimes you have to scroll down to actually see what's going on here. Okay, so this one, Django checks to make sure the project is set up properly. Okay, that's your line 1 of the system check there. Line 2, it reports the version of Django in use and the name of the settings file in use. Number 3, it reports the URL where the project is being served. The URL http://127.0.0.1:8000. So port 8000 on your computer is what we refer to as local host. So we're actually going to go open a web browser now, and we'll type that in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, and we're going to enter in. We're actually going to do local host. Okay, and then port 8000. Okay, and then this is what you should get for your output here. Okay, the install worked successfully. Congratulations. Okay, so now we have the Django running locally on our computer. Okay, we can go ahead and get out of that by Control C. Okay, so Control C here, and then I'll take us back to our prompt. Okay, and that is the setup of Django. So no files for you to necessarily submit to me. What I want to see is screen snips as you're going through this project. So as I was going through here, I want you to go ahead and send me some screen snips, okay, of your commands that you're entering. You can enter them in a Word document. Organize them, please, in a sequential order. Okay, maybe you label them page numbers for me. Okay, and then I also want to see the screenshot of this on your computer as well. Okay, and then we will begin the next video with starting an app. So if you run into any issues through page 384, please let me know. Thank you.